offsetting revenues for ice sculptures. And last year we did the wagon rides, which were popular. We do spend quite a bit out of our budget for the ice sculptures in the park. So the discussion was, we understand this is an event, a time of year we want to get people, but is spending that much of the budget on this event driving business, or are people coming to downtown anyway? The committees pretty much saw it both ways, but felt it was worth continuing to put a significant amount of money in this. So we just backed it off from 27,000 to 29,000 or 25,000. Ladies Opening Night, again, that's an event that has been very successful. We've kept, it's been at 3,500 last year. We'll spend that this year, and then just adding something for next year to enhance that slightly. Friday night at the movies. This year we were fortunate that we had fewer sponsors sign up, but we had 2 movies that were carries over and rained out from the year before. So we didn't have to pay for as many movies. So we were okay. But next year we're starting from scratch. So this is one of those, depending on how getting sponsorships goes, will depend what our series looks like. We're not going to say we're doing 5 weeks of movies if we aren't getting if we're not successful at getting sponsors for the movies. Men's night, the 2020, this year's budget, because we do programs and services so early in the year, we put it at 5,000. Last year, we had a lot of expenditures on DJs, tents, closing streets, pretty much marketing promotions wants this to run like Ladies Opening Night. We're not closing streets. We're not doing DJs in the streets. It's a shopping event. We'll do something to enhance it, but it's not going to have as many expenditures. So we put that back at 3,000 estimate for this year as well as next year. Concerts in the park, again, the next one are collaborating events. So these are events that we partner. Concerts in the Park is a partnership with Crooked Tree Arts Center. That sponsorship level actually went up 500 this year, but that's staying at 3,000 for next year. We actually did a lot of promotion for that one this year. Missy did 6 Facebook posts and then mentioned it as well, and did 2 reels on our Facebook page. So we did really try to enhance any marketing that Crooked Tree was doing for that. And that reached about 31,000 people just through our Facebook posts. So Downtown Sound Bliss Fest, they are doing that again. That's the one that starts in the fall, runs into the spring, also sponsored by Crooked Tree. That is staying at $2,500. 4th of July, again, next year is our, I'm not going to get the, not sesquicentennial. Anyway, it's 250 years. So we know Stars and Stripes is going to really try to build it up next year. So we thought, well, we haven't gotten their request yet, but we're putting an extra $500 into that. Art Walk from Crooked Tree, they did not do that this year, and that is an event they are not continuing. So there's no expenditure for that. Restaurant Week, we help sponsor the fall restaurant week that the Chamber of Commerce does. They do one in the spring, one in the fall. We help sponsor the one in the fall at $500. Holiday Parade, our budget is $5,000. Our estimate, we're hoping to get to $5,000. This was one. We had a sponsor last year that did not wish to do it again. So we currently have one sponsor. So we broke it down into categories instead of having a single sponsor. We have a platinum sponsor, a gold sponsor and a silver sponsor. So we have our platinum sponsor being staffers. We've had Bear Cub come forward with a silver sponsorship. So we're still gonna try and get to that $5,000 number. If we don't, we will, the $3,000 is what we provide to Rotary to run the actual parade. So anything above that is what we use to enhance marketing and promotions. So, you know, billboards, extra media, extra ads in the paper, is what we're trying to accomplish by getting, excuse me, that additional $2,000. Sounds of Summer Bliss Fest, we just wrapped up the summer and, Missy will talk a little bit about it, but as far as we know, we're gonna keep that as at 12,500. And then the farmer's market contribution at 1,000. And again, that's our cash donation, but we do also provide all the meter bags and all the parking spaces that have meter bags on them as in kind to the farmer's market. So that is that portion of programs and services and events. Any questions by the board on that?
I have a couple. Anybody else first? Couple. What's the ridership with the trolley? How many riders do we have during the year? What's the count? You must have a count.
I do.
April does.
So to date, as of August 10th, it's 2,044 riders, and that's averaging 59 a day.
Okay. But you have coverage by sponsors for it?
Yeah, I think that's farther down. So that's just the events. So then, on economic enhancement, this year's budget, we had 15,000 total. I'm projecting 12,000. This is used for training seminars and, as well as what had been in last year's budget that wasn't accomplished was a market analysis study. And what we're looking at doing instead is getting Placer AI, which is a data service. We're just trying to work out what that looks like in terms of, is it something that the downtown shares with the city? But that allows us to get a lot more data on a continual basis rather than a market analysis that's going to be a one snapshot in time of what's going on. So then okay, so now on to marketing and promotions. The image campaign, we are proposing to put at 32,000. That is more than this year's budget. And what we did this year was, when it was decided we weren't going to do the calendar project, we took what our expenditures would have been on producing the calendar that we didn't have offsetting revenues, which was approximately $4,000. We put that into image campaign. That's allowed us to do digital billboards, additional marketing, and Missy can talk a little bit more about that, but that is a line item that we do all of our software for the website, for the online calendar, for the web, for Facebook. So that is our true, that's marketing and promotions for downtown as a whole, not specific to an event. We may, on a billboard, especially if we have a digital billboard that we're allowed to change, we may put up an event. But that's how we are marketing downtown as a destination. The shopping map, for expenditures, 11.5. This is one we've tried to look at different ways to cut back expenditures, and we thought a way that we could would be to have less focus on advertising, but it doesn't actually save us a lot of money. So we're still gonna look at ways to reduce costs, but it wasn't as easy as we thought it was gonna be. Ghost Walk, we aren't anticipating doing that this year, and we do not have it in next year's budget. Annual Toast to Downtown, this is an event that we tried to get going in the spring. And so if we do this, it will be late fall, like October, November timeframe. But next year, we were looking at decreasing the amount and trying to rework what that event will be. Staycation stays at 400, and then again, the photo calendar is a project we are now moving forward with. The big change in this budget is the move of the beautification line items, which is our flowers, our fall decorations, and our holiday decorations, which currently come out of the assessment, moving that to the parking fund. I believe it was maybe historically in the parking fund because all of our meters have a message on them that say your coins go to our holiday decorations and flowers. So I think over the years, things have gone back and forth, but realistically, those are things that are creating a sense of place for the whole community. They're more like placemaking than marketing or promotions or events for downtown. So that's what is proposed, is to move that to the parking fund. And then the administration expenses is staff, office expense, and then we don't really have a capital outlay. So total expenditures at 214,721. Back to John, your question on, so those are expenditures.
Well, you have revenues for the trolley sponsor, 14,000. And I'm looking for expenditures of what is the cost of the trolley.
Okay, so we'll talk revenues next.
Aren't we? I thought we did.
So changes for revenues proposed for 2026. Again, the assessment increase of 2.6%. Slight overall increase in sponsorship revenue is our goal. And that's 5,000 over the current budget. And that would be with the trolley sponsorship and Sounds of Summer targeted to bring in additional funding. To your question of revenue for sponsorships of the trolley.
The question is I'm just trying to figure it out. Where I see you have 14,000 coming in for sponsorships for the trolley.
Yes.
And now that's where revenue, so it should show up someplace under expenditure. So which one is that?
It goes to the marketing and promotions expenditures. So it's not going specifically to Winter Wonderland
Right,
weekend
understand.
or restaurant week.
What is the cost?
The cost of the trolley?
What is the expenditures of the trolley for the drivers, for the trolley, for
That is-
staff, for the care? If we've got 3,000 riders, how much is it costing the DMB per rider?
That is in the parking fund. The expenditures for the trolley come out of the parking fund. So we're only talking about programs.
Expenditures come out of there, then revenue should probably, I don't know. Seems like you're crossing pots you're getting revenue for it, but yet you're spending it out of a different into the marketing.
Yes, that was the decision of the DMB in the past, that the sponsorship revenue would go towards the programs and services budget. If that's not the direction of the board, then
I'm just asking because I just trying to get a handle of the flow of it, that's all.
okay. So that's the question. If the board would like to discuss that, so we're projecting or hoping to get 14,000 in revenues to support the programs and services budget. And yes, the expenditures come out of the parking fund. I don't have the detail on the 2026 budget yet for the parking fund. I do know this year, we put 20,000 into the budget. That did not include the cost of the drivers. So we can get you all the details on the,
I just think it's good to know how much is it costing per person that gets on that thing to get a ride? It sounds like it's $5 or something that people are, that they're not paying, but are coming up with funds.
yes, yep. And April may have that under the parking report because we did actually present that to the parking committee this month
Okay,
of where we are year to date anyway.
just asking.
I do understand why you're asking it though, because it doesn't balance out, right? Like why the revenue is in this budget, but not in the other,
Budget is in
right?
another
Like
budget.
why, that doesn't make sense in a balance sheet
The sponsorship,
to me. anyway.
yeah, at some point in the past, the decision was made because the programs and services budget, the assessment alone was not supporting the operations.
Okay,
So because the trolley was seen as a placemaking endeavor, it was enhancing downtown. The marketing, anything we got in sponsorships was going to go to marketing downtown as well. So rather than just going back to the parking fund, it enhances the marketing of downtown. And I don't know if anyone who's been on the board a long time can explain it more in detail, but that was my understanding.
I just want to note that for sponsorship, we do have in the agreement that we will do social media marketing for the sponsors. So I'm sure that's how it ties together, that they get, I think about 5 social media posts are mentioned. So I'm not sure if that's how it ties back into the marketing piece. And that's why it's in the marketing budget per se.
Okay, so to the revenues, again, the changes are the increase in the assessment, and then increase in sponsorship revenue. The big change in expenditures is moving the beautification line items out of programs and services to the parking fund, and that is a reduction of $27,000. And then decrease in expenditures for sidewalk sales, winter weekend, and men's night, and then a decrease as well in economic enhancement expenditures. So again, this is your first look at the budget. It's just for discussion and direction. And input you give tonight, I'll make any needed adjustments and bring back a revised budget at the September meeting.
The reason we are that we only sponsor the one of the restaurant weeks?
Sure, speak.
Is there a reason we only sponsor one of the restaurant week?
Sorry, your microphone's not.
I Drew. Just asking, when we sponsor one of the two restaurant weeks,
We sponsor one.
but
We don't do both.
we don't do
No.
That's the
both.
question. Okay.
That's,
No,
was there a reason why, or we just,
I don't know why.
okay.
Was there discussion of sponsoring the flower festival in the future? Or does that need to be paid for by the retailers group for a while before they take that on?
Right, the committee discussed it, in that we know that the organizers are interested in having it taken over. And that we didn't feel that after 1 year, and the feedback we got, which, because we wanted to know, was it improving sales? It was kind of promoted as something that we're doing in the shoulder season that's gonna create more activity. The comments we got were not that it increased traffic or sales. I do believe that it could grow, but I think it needs to stay as a business event right now. And again, we have assisted a lot. So for that event, we did 8 Facebook posts and mentions and 2 reels. So we tried to promote it as much as possible. And I think, Missy, maybe working with the organizers, can help them help downtown and downtown help them, because there just wasn't the coordination that's probably needed. But so that was the discussion of, do we continue funding Winter Wonderland Weekend at the high level versus maybe having some money to kind of seed these business events? But that one is probably not to the point, other than in-kind assistance. The marketing committee didn't necessarily feel like it was something we were gonna take on, particularly because we just took on Men's Night last year.
No, and I believe it's smart to wait to see how it grows. And any way we can assist them, I think is fantastic. But when we decide to take it over, we need some real numbers over a 3 to 5 year period of time. That's how long it takes to make an event grow.
Yeah, and I do think the Garden Club is the natural nonprofit partner for that event. I just didn't see that it really took hold, because I think their website had the wrong dates or something, so I think if that partnership was strengthened, I think it would definitely help the event a lot.
Great. Any further questions?
I don't have a question. I do wanna, oh, thank you. I did wanna, notate that Witches Night on the 26th of September. It's just gonna be one day, but that we do have a downtown day on September 27th, which I think as retailers and downtown members, we should be aware of that date.
Yep. Missy's gonna talk a little more about that too.
Cool. Thank you, Amy, for detailing all those out.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, please.
Why is Downtown Sound separate from Sounds of Summer? How is that different?
Downtown Sound is the Crooked Tree fall into winter music series. So it's actually at Crooked Tree.
Gotcha. All right.
So that's the collaborating event versus the, like our event. Got it. Okay.
Pretty much all the music events are collaborating either with, if it's Charlotte Rossley, with Crooked Tree or, so Downtown Sound Bliss Fest is the fall into winter at Crooked Tree. And then, concerts in the park are the Charlotte Rossley,
Yeah.
at the park
At the
gazebo.
gazebo.
Yeah.
right?
Great. Further questions? If there isn't any, does that mean that the board is in support of the marketing and promotions budget as presented? Or is there further discussion and further comment on where those funds should be put?
Or I would even ask, I mean, again, historically, the board's direction was increase the assessment CPI. So that's what being proposed, is that the continued direction of the board?
Yeah, that's a good place to start, for sure. So what's being proposed is 2.6%, Amy, as that
Right.
is the area cost per living increase or cost of living. I think just for additional historical context, and correct me if I'm wrong, we moved to a smaller increase year over year to kind of go in line with the cost of living. We've also in the past gone with bigger increases for 1 year and then maybe we skip a couple years. But it was, this model has seemed to serve us better as it kind of fluctuates with, you know, the growth of business as opposed to having to go several years and then ask for 10% or something like that. I think it was more like we would go a couple years and have to ask for 5. But I think that's why we've moved to this, you know, kind of 2.6 or 2 point whatever kind of model. Is that a continuation of that, something the board is interested in? Is there anybody in favor of that?
I'm in favor of the consistency.
Perfect. Is there anybody opposed to that? Okay, being that there's none, then I guess we can consider 2.6 the right number for this year. So then let's talk through if that's what our total budget number of what we're gonna bring in, then are we putting it in the right places? Is there any further discussion on if we need to reconsider any of these line items?
If, and forgive me, because when it comes to budgeting. If beautification's being moved over to the parking fund, that expenditure, the
Mhm.
money we're saving, the money that's being saved from those expenditures, have they been farmed out to different areas?
Essentially, what that accomplishes is you taking less out of fund balance.
It covers our deficit over
Oh,
year over year.
So last year's budget, there was a shortfall of 107,000. This year, taking out approximately, I think what I have budgeted is about 30,000 for flowers, fall decorations and holiday decorations.
All right.
So, and again, your assessment is a payment for service. So over the years, some events haven't happened or things were budgeted higher than needed. So that's what's built up your fund balance. Realistically, an assessment does, you know, it's not like a general fund that the city is gonna have an emergency, like an ice storm, and they have to pay suddenly all this money to remove trees. An assessment is a service thing, so having a big assessment is nice, or I guess I would say, having a big fund balance is nice. It's not essential. But I do also think that looking forward, beautification of downtown is more appropriate for the user fee, which is parking meters and paying for parking, than a business assessment on programs and services. So from I mean, last year I brought to you the question of public art. Does that belong in an assessment, or does that belong, which is where it was, or does that belong in as a capital expenditure, which is parking? So that got moved last year. And then this year, I'm proposing that the beautification of downtown also is paid more from the user fees than the business assessment.
Okay. We didn't, the Arts Commission didn't spend that 10,000 though, did they?
Yes. That money went to the city from the downtown budget for the public art in the tunnel.
Okay. I'll look at it. You had in some of the fund balance that you had, there was money put in there that was going to go towards the building of a parking structure.
No, the fund
But
balance,
that was not included in the fund balance.
no, that's parking fund balance.
Okay,
So this is strictly, and typically this is different because typically we do both budgets at once. But programs and services needs to go early because we have to do the whole public hearing process. If we do parking at the same time, our revenue projections are very off because we have our numbers from July. So we're splitting them this year. So this is your first look at programs and services. Next month will be your second look, and it'll be your first look at parking. But we've got to get the programs and services to city council, so and we're not, unlike 2 years ago where there was money transferred from parking to programs and services for operations. That's not the case this year, so they don't necessarily have to be tied.
so there is a $30,000 that's gonna need to be taken out of fund balance. Is that?
Yeah, so when you look at contributions, that fund balance, the 35,946 is what's proposed to come out of the fund balance for programs and services.
How long can we do that before we have? How much is the fund balance now?
We're projecting at the end of 2026 that it'll still be 150,000. So no, is it an answer? It's not an answer. It's not a long-term answer, I guess, is what I'm saying.
It's not. I think we should start looking at what are we going to do now, because in 4 or 5 more years, you're going to eat completely through that, and with the increase of cost of everything, you probably have 4 years and you're going to eat through that. And then you're going to say, we're going to have to cut we're going to have to cut marketing to make up the 30,000 because we aren't going to have it. So I think we need to look, as a board, I think we need to start taking a tough look at this to see, are we going to increase revenue or are we going to decrease expenditures? Because you can't keep running these negative numbers.
Well, and we have, I mean,
You have, but.
That is true.
But maybe you have, but I think we need to start looking at how do we address it now so that new people sitting on this thing don't have to sit and make big cuts and decision makings that I think we don't want to create. That's my opinion.
What was the fund balance like in the past? Oh, right there. But what was the fund balance in the past several years? So if it's if it'll be 150 at the end of this year, what has it gone down from? If I can ask.
I'd have to look historically, but it got built up a lot around 2020 because, you know, we were budgeting for events that then we couldn't do that event. We couldn't do, so 2020, 2021 is when it really started
Okay.
increasing.
Makes sense.
So like at the bottom, you can kind of see that typically we carry a bit of an excess. But if you go all the way back to the original, like, so the first year represented 2024, and that was excess of revenues over expenditures was 30 grand that year.
Right.
But back in 2020, that was probably 120.
Well, but we also,
didn't have
we
events.
changed around where things were taken out.
That's
It's
true.
talked about, not on this, it's not on this sheet because it's on the
The
parking fund. And so it ends up
Right.
kind of being convoluted and trying to figure out where are we really increasing and where are we really decreasing? What is the fund balance for the parking? And that's hard because you end up with big $200,000, $300,000 jobs, right?
Mhm.
So it's hard to project that without. And yet we're commingling this with that, and it's confusing to me, that's all.
Got it.
Well, and you're right, over the years, things have moved because it was 2024 was the first year. Any wages and benefits came out of programs and services. Prior to that, everything came out of the parking fund.
Right. So I do think it might be helpful in an effort to continue that conversation, Mr. Mayor, is we have two buckets of money. So we have our programs and services, which is the budget that's presented to the board today, and we also have the parking fund. So we have two funds that are, in theory, they're revenue generating and they allow us to do the things that we do. So could we just talk quickly through, like, so the parking fund is funded through parking revenues. So that's tickets, that's meters, that sort of thing. This is funded through the assessment of the downtown businesses at the rate that we talked about earlier. So the only way to adjust that is exactly what you said. We either reduce what our spending is or we somehow find additional revenues. So we can find, I just think it's good to kind of, is that a correct synopsis of what we have kind of built this fund into? Or is there anything that we're kind of missing in that? Like we're really trying to use these funds to steward the promotion of downtown. So I think as we, as a board, review this, all of these items should have that intent. Is that kind of
Right.
right?
Well,
What we're
and
after?
just one, the other revenue source is program revenue, so sponsorships.
Right, exactly. Yep. So we either have to increase the assessment, increase the sponsorship, or we have to decrease what we're doing for the downtown. So it
Correct.
seems like that's kind of the check and the balance that we have today. So I think what the mayor alluded to is let's find that right balance, right?
Or if you're making so much money off of the parking, then you don't need to worry about it and you could just keep expending money out of the parking. But then the problem comes back like it did now, where you guys came to city council and said, isn't it true that you needed more money for all of the jobs that we're doing with the repavement at some of these lots and improvements, and wanted to free up the money that was when the rates, parking meters were increased there was that 50 to 80,000 that was put into for a structure. So that's now released, so you guys have that money to utilize. But again, you're gonna end up with the same thing coming up. You aren't gonna have that money one of these days when it comes to repaving and redoing all of the parking lots with the cost of those big ticket items.
Right.
And I think you need to somehow make sure you're on a capital improvement plan, knowing that in 10 years, we're gonna have to re-spend 200,000 for this lot, 100,000 for this lot. I think we need some kind of a projection of that. 10 and 20-year plan on the parking lots, that type of stuff. Like we do with the fire truck now. Like we do with the truck cars and the police cars and stuff, where we have so much comes out every year because you know that this is what your expenditure is going to be. $1.2 million fire truck. Now we've put money into an account for that capital improvement in the future. And I think we need to start looking at that for some of this parking stuff too.
But it is in the CIP. But you're saying longer term than 5 years.
Well, because I think some of that replacement stuff is more than 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
So are you hoping to see some of that in our programs? and
Not
services
necessarily
budget too?
this year, but I think I'm saying that when I'm looking at all of the numbers and the budgets and stuff, I think we need to start looking at that
Sure.
for the future. There isn't going to be a drop off today or tomorrow or next 5 years, but
Yeah.
you're going to hit that drop off period where you're going to have to come back and repave this stuff and redo this stuff. And so I think it would behoove us to make sure that we keep enough money in the parking piece
On the parking side, sure.
to fund that.
Mhm.
And yet, or is there enough money there that we can start taking it and putting it into marketing as well to support it? But I think we need to start looking at some of that.
Sure.
I'm not saying this is a bad budget or anything.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Every one of these expenditures, I've been involved with a lot of them. I mean, geez, that men's night, who was there? You were there, weren't you?
Mhm.
There was a lot of people. I was impressed by how many people attended that wrap up of the thing. We've got some wonderful things going on in the winter, sidewalk sales, Christmas open house. There's concerts in the park, which I attend a bunch of. I just think those are great things, but I just want to make sure in the future we don't hit a drop off of where are we going to cut. Let's make sure we plan financially into the future.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of what I'm hearing is that we do want to move this, figure out the way that we can make this budget more self-sufficient. But as long as the total budget of the two things is making sense, then we're not that concerned. Does that agree with what I think I hear everyone saying? Well, not everyone, but a couple people. I mean, I guess I'm not sure it matters a huge deal if where it's coming from necessarily, if we move things around.
I think another way to look at that, Joe, is are we okay with digging into the fund balance for a second year in a row? I think that's another thing to consider. But I mean, from what I'm hearing, your question.
Mhm.
I think it all makes sense. Like,
So
And-
just devil's advocate.
Hmm?
What is the programs and services fund budget there for?
mhm.
if you're assessing property, so I'm a property owner downtown and I'm paying my assessment. And in 3 years, I decide I'm gonna leave downtown and you haven't spent my money yet. An assessment is typically a pay as you go. You know, you pay your assessment for the services you receive.
Mhm.
There's not a savings account that goes along with that. I mean, we're lucky there is one. But I guess and I would say we've made great strides going from 107 to just under 36,000, taking that rum fund balance.
I agree with that. That's a big improvement. And even from the budgeted amount of 2025, you're down 22 or,
Right.
yeah, 22,000.
So I think the budget's fine for this
I agree.
year, and I think that should be our thinking with decisions on events and these types of things going forward is we want to make that, we don't want to run out of money in that account, but we want to get closer to being like we're moving in the right direction. We're going to keep moving there. So we're,
And isn't that what the assessments are for in the future? If you're going into a deficit,
yeah,
then you increase the assessment.
yeah.
And I know I don't own my building, but I pay those assessments.
Yeah, right, that's what,
I think a lot of us do that.
Right.
So it's, yeah, we're the ones paying it.
we're the ones paying it and we're
Yeah.
the ones that are benefiting from the outcome,
Right.
right? So stewarding that money is just as important,
Right.
whether you own your building or not. So I
Right.
think,
Mhm.
I totally agree with that.
So I'm in favor of it.
Perfect. So I hear 2 in favor. Does anybody have concerns with drawing down on the surplus funds, or is everyone kind of in that favor boat? Just want to make sure everybody's able to share their piece.
I mean, if it were 85,000 again, I would not be in favor of that, but I think because we're going in a really good direction, it's a really good start.
Perfect. All right. Any other further comments?
Not right now.
We'll put a pin in that. Any other further concerns, questions, or should we move on to our next agenda item?
Keep it rolling.
We'll keep it rolling.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and any questions between now and the next meeting, just reach out to me and we can go through them at the next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Does that answer everything you were hoping to accomplish?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so moving right along, then let's see. So we're to the appointment of committee members, is that right?
Mhm.
So I guess we're passing it back to you, Amy.
We have 2 openings on the Marketing and Promotions Committee, and 2 people have stepped up to become members. And the committee recommends both Hannah Stoppel of Somebody's Gallery and Matthew Meyer of Meyer Ace Hardware. And again, DMB committee members are appointed by the full DMB.
Perfect. Thank you, Amy. Any comments or questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion for the appointments of the committee members.
I make a motion that the board appoints Hannah Stoppel and Matt Meyer to the Marketing and Promotions Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. We'll put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Like,
All opposed, same sign. Perfect. Moving right along to the discussion and possible action on DMB Design Committee recommendations.
As noted in the agenda memo, there's two items before you that are recommendations of the design committee. The first, let me see if I got, okay, the first actually is lighting of the gazebo, which was a project that was approved by the DMB to move forward in about 2020. It didn't, we had the plans and I think just we weren't getting any responses from contractors, so it kind of fell by the wayside. So the committee feels like this is a project worth doing. We have an estimate of $8,160. Again, this isn't an item that is currently in your budget, but you have a we changed the facade grant to be a little broader, to be placemaking, which would include public art or placemaking projects. That's what we were looking at doing the Hollywood building sign out of. That project didn't happen, so you have money in this budget. If the DMB wanted to move or try and get this done this year, potentially that line item could be used. Otherwise, we could put it into next year's budget and it would be more clearly spelled out as a project. And just to ensure that we cover all unforeseen items, staff's recommending, if you were going to approve it or recommend it for next year's budget, to do so at the $10,000 amount.
Perfect.
Do we still have, ideas of what that looks like? The lighting?
Essentially, it's going to involve an interior light.
Hmm.
And then on the perimeter of the interior, kind of roped LED warm lights. And the perimeter of the exterior roof line,
Mm-hmm.
the same. There were, at one point, I don't know if you recall, there were, I can't remember what they're,
Uplighting.
yeah, uplighting from the ground
Mm-hmm.
into the, like, hydrangeas and the gazebo, like right there. But that was, I think, because of budgeting, I think was just cut out. It was gonna be a maintenance issue.
And the only reason why I ask is, back then, you know, I went on that tour of the downtown when we were talking about lighting and, you know, it was great when we were walking down there, but you forget about, you know, the snow depths and things like that come winter. Doesn't sound like that type of lighting is gonna be that issue. I mean, I really remember all that. I thought that park needs some light, not only for ambiance, but for safety.
Right, right. Thank you for pointing that out. It just saved me from doing it.
So I recommend that I would like to see it go through, even if they can start this year.
And we're Pennsylvania Park master plan. Is that? What's the status of that? Remind me.
I will give you some updates on that.
Yeah.
Under staff reports. I will give it,
But
but.
touching the gazebo is not part of that.
Moving the gazebo is not, and that's why the design committee decided, because there was some discussion of does current concept has gazebo staying where it is, so they felt this is a project that's not gonna be undone in a matter of
Right,
years.
that was my only concern, really.
Yep.
Did the contractor that we find have any other like concepts other than just the rope lighting or what?
I just mentioned rope lighting. No,
Okay.
it'll be a specific kind of a lighting that outlines in the interior. I have no idea.
So it'll be like an LED.
But yeah, I have no idea what the fixtures.
Is this
I
going
don't
to
have
the
it with
Parks
me.
and Rec department?
It, the director is aware of it, because again, this was a project from
Has it gone to
2020.
the board and been listed and just in courtesy that they would do to you, a courtesy to them to allow their board to look at this, just as I would expect that they would let to have you look at the moving the can and moving the, doing stuff like that. I would think that out of respect of their board, you would send this to their board just to let them know. Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think, but I also think that if any board was like, hey, we're gonna spend 10,000 to improve your thing, they're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, no. You know what I mean?
As I recall,
Yes, but what happens if you guys said you wanted to put walk lighting along the walkway that was gonna be a foot tall, 2 foot tall, long, high, all the way along it? The Parks and Rec would probably have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Just like you would probably have an issue if they brought that up. And I think you guys need to work together with this with the Parks and Rec.
I can check if, when this was originally proposed, if it did actually go to the Parks Commission. It may have, I don't know.
it may have, it may not, I can't remember.
So at this point, let's table it. We'll send it to the Parks and Rec Commission.
It just out of courtesy.
Sure.
so
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
When they do something in the park, I expect that they will come to you and say, we're moving the cannon or we're putting a new flagpole up. I would think that they would talk to you guys as well jointly, okay? That's all. I'm not trying to make more work for people. I'm just trying to make sure that they feel you're working with them, because I expect they'll work with you guys, and it's working together.
We're all here.
That's
for-
interesting, because in the next item, we have.
I love the next item. I think this is great. City needs this.
Yeah, we're all here for a better Petoskey. You're absolutely right. Perfect. So I think we're probably good. No further discussion required. Is there anything you wanted to bring, Gary?
No, if not, we're not doing a motion tonight, no.
I mean, do we wanna do a motion just to? I guess there's also a level of expediency if we're trying to get in this year and that we already have it in the
Right, I
budget
think-
that we could see if we're all on board with that and then just say
Oh, okay.
pending any, pending anything from the parks people, then we don't, it doesn't need to come back to us and wait for that necessarily.
I'm going to move that we approve up to $10,000 for this project. And send it to Parks and Rec for
Seal of approval.
seal of approval, yeah.
So just to clarify the motion, so it's a motion to approve the expenditure up to $10,000 for a lighting project in the gazebo at Pennsylvania Park, contingent on approval of the Parks and Recreation Board.
There you go.
Yes, that's much better.
That's exactly what he said.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any further comments, questions, concerns? Otherwise, we will move into a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Alright,
All opposed, same sign. All right, so motion carries. Thanks for that discussion. Perfect. All right, so are we on to point E, report by downtown?
Sorry, no, one more design
Ooh,
committee.
Drinking fountains, good.
Right,
night.
but,
What am I doing? All right, so.
one more recommendation from the design committee. Again, with the construction of Park Avenue, the 2 drinking fountains were removed. There's a long discussion in the design committee minutes that I provided. And they are recommending that the DMB request, I believe of city council or the Parks Commission, I'm not sure who, that the two fountains be put back into Pennsylvania Park.
I would go to the planning, Parks and Rec, because ultimately they're gonna say, they're gonna see it and send it to us, city council. I'd go and work with the parks. And start there, they may have funds to pay for
We'll trade them lighting in the gazebo.
it. They don't. But, okay, so but they don't have funds to pay for it, but we are working on the budget right now for the city.
I think
So is this not included when they redid all the work and you had the two fountains there working?
it was
Shouldn't they have just
included.
been replaced?
It was included in the original plan. Parks and Rec did not come back to us to tell us what was being cut, except for, I think, some of the indentations that were being made for seating at the time, that the project was over budget, never told us what was being cut really, or that the fountains were being cut, let's put it that way.
The fountains weren't removed because of the budget. The fountains were removed for, particularly the one at Lake Street, to put it back after the project, it was not gonna be ADA accessible. And then it was also, maintenance and, it was felt that the move towards bottle filling stations versus drinking fountains, was the move that the park should go.
Do we know if the water lines were left in?
I don't believe the one at Lake Street, it remains.
Well, we don't want
The
to tear
cap
it
is
all
there
up.
though,
and
I
put-
think.
Hmm?
The cap, there's a, I think isn't it right outside of American Spoon? There's a cap there.
Yeah.
After our meeting, I
Yeah,
walked
there is,
out that
but
way.
I don't know what it's served,
That's
so
what-
I don't have 100% answer on that.
That would be a good question to answer, so we know if there's water lines or not, because we're not gonna tear up the sidewalks that were just fixed to put new water lines down.
It might.
That would be silly.
Why don't you ask the city manager?
He's anti-drinking fountain. He's until.
I don't think.
I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself, but, it's likely that we're gonna have to tear up some concrete regardless, which is unfortunate. Out of the bathroom area, we're not happy with how that turned out. There's some significant ADA concerns there.
And safety, yeah.
So, especially in the winter, so we may have to this winter put up like a guardrail or a railing out of the bathroom so people do not fall, as that gets slippery. But likely, we're gonna have to tear that up, next spring. And at that time, maybe that's when we put, if that's the desire, put the fountain back. We had talked about potentially putting a bottle filler fountain on the bathrooms as you kind of exit the bathrooms, have it on the wall back there. An attractive thing that would match kind of what we're trying to accomplish instead of putting it back out into the area that could restrict accessibility. The plans did show those fountains being removed. Whether people missed that as in their review or not, that is reality, that those fountains were shown being removed and not put back. So certainly if that's the direction of this body, if that's the direction of city council, we'll make provisions to put something back. There's no drain, there's no water there anymore at the, off of Howard Street. I don't know about the Lake Street location. But if we want to put something back, it does need to meet ADA accessibility issues, and concerns. And from what we were told, those fountains weren't actively used by a lot of folks. That may or may not be true, but that's kind of what we were told. You all are down there all day, every day, and probably could weigh in on that discussion more effectively. But we're trying to transition away from the bowls type where you put your head down into it, especially after COVID. I certainly don't want to be putting my head down in that. So we're trying to transition away from that, but if the desire is to remain kind of what was there and put something like that back, then so be it. So a little surprising that this has become the issue that it's become, but
And what was the
I've had
outcome
3
of the
calls
water
on it.
filling?
3? Huh?
3 calls?
Wow.
Yeah.
Same person?
No.
I mean, you can go into the bathroom and
Yeah.
fill your water bottle. I mean, there's no reason to be theatrical with what we're trying to do here, in my opinion, but,
No, the water filling station might be the best
yeah,
idea. It's right by the bathroom. Don't have to do much work to
right.
get that done.
And we would have to, it's required that you can't just have a filling station because you may not have a bottle. So we still have to have, if you want to put your head down in there and take a drink, that still would have to be available. But if you want to bring a bottle, put your bottle under, fill it. We did find out that the manufacturer of the fountains that we have like a gooseneck that they can manufacture. So you could fill your bottle out of that older original style fountain that we had down there. So that could be incorporated. So.
You guys know it more than most because you're down there, you have people coming and going, so I guess I'd probably put it on your plate and say, what do you guys want to do with it?
Did you say ADA says you can't just have a filling station? You have to have
When we
those?
talked to our manufacturer, he said that, best practice, I guess, I'll back up a little bit. Best practice would be that you would have an option for people still to go down and drink out of a area in case you didn't bring a cup. Because that was the question. Well, that's fine if you have a bottle filler, but what if you don't bring a cup?
Right.
How can I get a drink? So what they're doing is incorporating, because we have one here, we actually have 2 here,
Yeah.
where you can fill a bottle and you can also use it traditionally as a drinking fountain. Probably 95% of the time you're filling up with a bottle, but if you're walking around, you go to the farmer's market and you're thirsty after that and you didn't bring a glass, we have to make that provision, so.
So, are there outdoor versions of that?
Oh, that, yes. Mm-hmm,
Okay,
yep.
I mean, are we talking about the old fashioned kind? You know, in this?
I think ultimately the design committee, and you're on it, so correct me if I'm wrong, was they want 2 drinking fountains. Didn't specify they had to be the same ones.
Right.
It's whatever works. They want 2 back.
Okay.
So it wasn't it wasn't aesthetically driven by what was there. It was more practical driven about.
There was discussion about them being a focal point, but I think the main point was they are important infrastructure for a park and downtown.
Got it. I guess, is there further discussion on whether we think, I guess what I would like to know, and probably from the design committee, is if it makes more sense to incorporate a drinking fountain bottles filling station in the spot that was kind of described, or does it have to be in those same locations that we had before, or are we just objective? I mean, it was a really hot summer, so I get the kind of the concept of having that available. I mean, I think it was one of the hottest summers that I remember. So like having that available makes sense, but does it need to be available in that same, like,
Well,
you know,
but-
kind of bird feeder
But
or bird bath
but
thing?
you're gonna have to, if you're gonna redo some cement down
Right.
there, they've got bathrooms anyway. I would suggest we just incorporate it there then,
Right, yeah, incorporate it onto the side of that building or whatever, right?
wherever,
Maybe
however.
one gets done and then we have to figure out the second one, of like the Lake Street, that's a little more complicated.
I mean. We have to do two. I guess.
I don't know, maybe that plate is covering the water line and it's there. I would need to talk with, our parks people to see if that's been.
Well, if we
active.
don't have access to something there, then I think that starting with one and on the building that we already have,
Mhm.
then we move forward.
Potentially, you could do something similar on the parking services building outside. Could you?
We don't own that.
That's true. That's not ours. Sorry.
Ask for forgiveness.
Um,
So to get some summary to it, it sounds like we're already gonna be talking to our friends over in the Park and Recreation Department about the gazebo lighting. Could we discuss what it could look like to add a drinking fountain onto the restroom facility there to see if that could?
Yeah, we're already working through that. We're working with our vendor to kind of come up with some options,
Okay.
to place something on the restroom, the back of the restroom facility. But again, if we have to cut up the concrete and that's the desire is to put something like that back, we can make that happen as well.
Perfect.
How many of these in the Western movies I used to see, they just had a string with a cup hanging on it. We could just put a cup hanging on this, on the thing on a rope, if you could just hear it. Thank you.
There's an idea. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mr. City Manager. All right, any further discussion on either gazebo lighting or drinking fountains in the downtown?
We do need a motion on the drinking fountain.
All right,
Wait, but we can't. We can't actually do anything. We're just, what we're doing is gonna be.
Rest of the design committee was that the recommendation of the design committee is the DMB request that 2 drinking fountains be put back. So I think the details are gonna need to be worked out on location, accessibility and all of that. So I think their point was just they're important to the park and downtown.
so, perfect. Okay, so what I'm hearing is the DMB thinks that it's important to have one. Is that right? Am I hearing incorrect?
Yes.
At least one.
Why
Okay,
don't you have him look at it, since he said he can have public safety or public works, take a look at the other one and see if something's there
okay.
and what's there.
So I'd like to entertain a motion. What would we like that motion to look like? Or we don't have to make a motion.
Or we can motion to table it.
Or ask to get feedback from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, after we get feedback.
The
from-
infrastructure, so then we can then
Oh.
move forward.
Well, and again, this is a park amenity, so really how it happens and where it happens needs to be a decision of the Parks Commission in consultation with staff.
So you would prefer to have a motion on, to take over to Parks and Rec, or is our discussion enough?
I don't prefer anything. The committee is recommending that you request that 2 fountains be put back.
So, okay, got it. So I guess it's up to the board. Is there somebody that would like to put forward a motion in support of the drinking fountains, or would we prefer to just move on and do a little more research?
we need a little more information and we move on.
All right, great. So I think let's go ahead and move on from this particular topic and we can revisit it at a further future meeting. All right, that brings us up to report by the Downtown Management Board committees and staff.
Okay, we'll start with marketing and promotions. Miss,
All right, just to give you an update on our summer events, Sounds of Summer was great this year. We had an excellent turnout with the exception of one of our Fridays being really hot that day. But the audience grew as the performance went on. So we end up having anywhere between 100 to 250 plus, depending on the band and night. And then after that was Movies in the Park. No rainouts, which was great. We had an excellent turnout. We did see that a lot of children and families would leave as the night got a little bit longer because of sleeping kids, but for the most part, everyone enjoyed themselves. And so we will continue to hopefully do those next year, depending on sponsorships. This year for our Movies in the Park, we had a credit rollover from two movies last year. So that helped us meet our budget because we did not have enough sponsors. So for next year, we are going to roll out all of our sponsor opportunities, and based on what we get, that will be the decision on how many movies we do this next summer. So any questions with that so far? Okay. Sidewalk sales, we had a great turnout again. We did have some feedback saying that maybe the weather was a little too warm, but we were pretty even on traffic compared to last year. And I know this because we had a meeting on traffic in our community, and the numbers were just almost right on point. So that was great. And we were also competing with Venetian Festival, I believe at that time. Next year, the sale will be July 31st and August 1st, and we will not be competing with Venetian Festival, which is great. So we already have those Facebook events posted for next year, and we'll continue to kind of market in that event going forward just to keep that rolling on socials. We had 50-50 response on changing the hours for next year, saying should we shorten Saturday? So we're just going to keep it the same hours since there wasn't like a big yay or nay. Everyone loved having for the most part, everyone loved having the nonprofits there. So we'll invite them back next year depending on what we have on Mitchell Street. The reason why we invited nonprofits was to fill in the gaps. So if we have more businesses on Mitchell Street, then we may not need as many nonprofits next year. So fingers crossed. The next event's coming up, Witches Night. We are, like Amy said, we're supporting them with doing Hocus Pocus on Friday night. And we're extending that weekend with Downtown Day. And it's really just an opportunity to get folks to come back and shop again for that weekend. And we're going to do a drawing for Downtown Dollars. And if stores have promotions, we'll help them promote that. And also a scavenger hunt we're putting together for that. So more details to come on that. And then right after that, we go into trick or treating and then all the holiday stuff. So with our holiday parade, we do have the Perry as our main sponsor or platinum sponsor, and Bear Cub is the silver. We're hoping to get more. The more sponsors that we have will lead into radio ads. That alone is $1,000. Print ads, which are around $600 a piece, and that's just for 3/8 of a page. So the more that we get, the more ads what we can do. And then we can also boost our events and go that route as well. Any other questions? Anything else? Otherwise, I think oh yeah, go ahead.
The Downtown Day, that's a state thing? promotion?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
That's new, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been doing it, forgive me, it's either 5 or 6 years, and we've done it in the past, but we haven't done it every year. I just know we've done it in the past. I've seen graphics for it, but I don't believe it was done last year. And so one thing about Downtown Day, yeah, it's to promote all the downtowns in the state of Michigan. And we're working with the Michigan Association, oh gosh, MDA, Michigan, Michigan Downtown Association, okay. And we're actually slotted to take over their social pages on September 17th. So I will get their password and I basically post on their socials and we'll promote Petoskey, downtown Petoskey in general, but we'll promote what we're doing for Downtown Day too. All
Cool.
right, I think that's it for me. If I didn't miss anything, so.
Perfect. Thanks, Missy. On to parking?
Parking. All right, so just a couple of highlights. The county is redoing their parking lots. So we were able to identify 91 parking spaces for them around the courthouse while they're doing their lot renovations, and that's gonna be September 2nd through November 15th. And then the park garden renovation is scheduled for next year. So that the engineers estimated about $420,000. And that was on the plan. And then skipping down to the trolley to the mayor's questions about the 2,000. On average with 59 drivers, and this is still to be determined because we're not done until September 1st with the trolley. But the cost per rider is estimated at $11.90 per rider. So again, hopefully lots more riders, so that will continue to go down.
Is that, sorry, April, is
Go
that
ahead.
with the number of the repairs for this year?
Yep. So that'll be all of 2025's expenses.
Great, thank you.
And that's all I have. Any questions?
Perfect. No, thank you. Sorry for that interruption. All right. And Amy.
Following up on both trolley and events, this actually is this week is Dog Days of Summer, which is also an event that was started by Grandpa Shorters. But Rough Life is participating, Bear Cub is participating, a few businesses are participating, so we decided we are going to try and do a, where we did a call out to downtown for people to bring their dogs to the trolley tomorrow at noon. And we're gonna try and get as many dogs on the trolley as possible, sticking their heads, not driving, but while it's parked, sticking their heads out the window. And then we'll have a great photo shoot that we can then post on What a Fun Community We Are. So let's see, for the design committee, you had, I think, 3 months, maybe 3 months of minutes. The committee has been reviewing revised concepts for Pennsylvania Park Master Plan. Got to a point that they're comfortable. And the next step, although I think we're gonna take it back to them one more time, then we would do a joint DMB Parks Commission meeting so that everyone's hearing the same thing at the same time and we don't move it from one body to the next. So likely that wouldn't happen till October, November timeframe at this rate. Oh, we've talked several times and I let the board know that city council was going to be looking at changing an ordinance on regarding sidewalks and bikes on sidewalks. That the city council decided not to take action on it, and I'll let Shane, when he's doing city manager report, if he wants to talk any more about it, or the mayor. So at this point, there were a lot of, the bike community came out strongly that this was sending a message that we were not friendly to bikes. And so, you know, working through whether it's different signs on sidewalks versus through the park, or, I mean, this all started, we put up the temporary signs They work a fraction of the time. You'll see some people get off their bikes, but the vast majority just blow past them. So it's, the ordinance isn't going to happen anytime soon, so I don't know what putting up more signage necessarily will accomplish, but so that's still a work in progress. And Shane will probably report more on the Oprah, and city council has been taking a lot of action actually on items relevant to downtown, so I will leave that for Shane.
We're looking forward to a report by city staff.
Glad you're here.
Just my, I'll take off. Personally, I think we need to address the bicycle issue. And the detractors are always going to be there, but our focus is in front of businesses. Bicycles should not be on sidewalks. Certainly, we think we probably need to do better, whether it's signage, alignment, or whatever through the park to make sure bicyclists can get through off the greenway, continue on. Certainly, we can do better through that way, and that's really not the focus of what we were trying to accomplish. We were trying to accomplish no bicycles on sidewalk in the central business district along the fronts of businesses downtown. You go to any community, that's pretty normal. That's just not allowed. So I think we still have to. We can't let that just die. I think we have to bring it back and continue moving it forward. And certainly, we got painted with a brush of anti-bike, which is certainly not true, or certainly something that we certainly promote bicyclists as well. But so that'll need to come back at some point and get cleaned up because we had a number of complaints, and that's really how we operate. When we get complaints, we need to follow through and follow up on it. So we had a number of those this summer, close calls. So the Oprah was approved for, just lost the name of it. Leo's neighborhood bar, grill, lounge. It's been called a number of things, but that has been approved. That's been submitted to the state. So that's exciting. They are working with the developers, working with the state on a $1.5 million RAP grant to come alongside that project as well. So it's about a $4.5 million project. So the owner, developer is very excited, very interested in seeing that start. Hopefully even yet to this year. That will start and take about a year to complete. So it'll be a bar, restaurant on the first floor. Lower level would be kind of a speakeasy with 4 residential units and 4 residential units on the second floor as well. So that's exciting. That's a big chunk of property. Also, City Council last night did adopt a vacant building ordinance. When we met for our city convention in June of this year, it was very loud and very clear to me that enough's enough. I think residents have had enough, and so we've taken that very seriously. Not that we weren't before, but our city attorney has issued recently a letter to a property owner on that block of East Mitchell that I won't mention, but that property owner has been served a legal notice. He has 10 days to come up with a plan for bringing that property into compliance with the International Property Maintenance Code. So we're working with 2 things here. The county has their building code, that's their area, and we have the International Property Maintenance Code, which deals with blight, which deals with property maintenance, which deals with health and safety of a deteriorating building. So that's what we're driving our point on, we just heard today, after he was served, or that person was served, that they pulled a permit yesterday for, to replace the roof. So hopefully that continues some positive movement in that area. So that is for residential and commercial properties. So we will, again, give us another tool from a code enforcement standpoint to address vacant, and it's not just vacant properties, it's vacant properties that have been ignored, vacant properties that have not complied with property maintenance codes, whether that's a number of issues, windows, siding, roof, go down the whole list of things. But so we will, that'll take an effect in about 14 days. So we'll have a registration program and an inspection program. And there's a fee schedule attached to that as well to make sure our costs are being taken care of. So that was adopted last night. We'll have a second reading of a dangerous building ordinance that essentially allows us to, if a property owner essentially thumbs their nose at us, it allows us to go in and correct the deficiency and put a lien on the property. So that is coming up for second reading at the next meeting. So we're taking some pretty aggressive approaches and hopefully get some action on some of these properties going forward. We did have our annual CIP joint meeting with the Planning Commission last week, I believe it was. So that draft plan is on our website. I'd encourage you to take a look at it. It's a 6-year planning tool that we use to kind of figure out our needs and our budget accordingly. So Planning Commission will have that on their agenda tomorrow night. They'll make a recommendation to City Council. So City Council will have that on for their September meeting. And then we'll go forward accordingly. What else is percolating, Mayor?
It's a 5-year capital improvement.
It's actually 6 years, but
6 years.
yeah. Mhm.
So you can take a look at what capital improvements the city is making, what streets we're looking at, et cetera.
Other projects are coming along great. The Maple Block, lofts, a little slower on the
Howard.
Hotel Del Rey project, but that's still progressing as well. If you've seen that on Michigan and Emmett. Do I have those streets right?
Michigan.
Yeah. That's a 9-unit affordable housing development there that's ongoing. Can't think of anything else.
Howard Street.
Howard Street reconstruct is unfortunately not going as well. We struggled. We've had like 6 washouts with significant rain events. You know, the contour of that hill up to Fulton. As much as we've tried to move forward, it seems like we just hit some bad luck and rain events, and we've had a number of washouts that have washed soil and gravel and road bed down to Michigan Street. So we've had a lot of cleanups after those. We do have the base course down now between Grove and Fulton. The contractor, as you all know now, has jumped forward, skipped a spot to get that property or that section between Sheridan and Jennings done before school. That's a critical path item to get accomplished before school. We're a little concerned. It's going to be very tight. We lost a little bit of time today with the rain. There's not a lot of flex in that schedule. So if worst case scenario, if we don't get it done before school, it will be gravelled, open back up, and the contractor will have to work between pickup and drop off times to pave, outside of those times. And there may be that stretch between Fulton and Washington that may have to wait until next spring. That's unfortunate, but we don't want to tear up something and then get caught with weather moving in, and now we're in a bad position. So we may have to hit pause on that section and pick it up in the spring. But it's been a frustrating project from a variety of levels. And I think unfortunately this contractor bit off a little more than they could handle. And so that's been we've had a lot of hand holding with that project, but that's the status of that. Any questions for me or the mayor?
The mayor is stating that we need bicycle, a rule on bicycles. It was split kind of like on city council of what direction to go. We didn't hear from anybody other than 4 people stating that we were basically
Yeah, and I always say, if you're passionate about something, certainly come up and speak, whether you're for or against it. Unfortunately, a lot of times we hear the negative Nellies that come out, or negative folks that come out. We don't hear the folks that are positive about something. So I would always encourage folks to, if you're really passionate about something, it doesn't matter which direction you're on. Certainly come out and take advantage of public comment, but sometimes we hear the negatives and not enough of the folks that believe we need to move in a different direction. But
that's what happened the other night.
Yeah.
You can always contact city council yourself.
We're doing master planning, as you probably saw, for Winter Sports Park. That's ongoing, so there's opportunity for you to engage with that. On our website, you can still participate if you weren't able to stop in over there or give any feedback, but use the tool on our website and give your feedback. That's an important program that we need to get finished as well. We're going out for bid on the pavilion, I call it the ice rink surface. We're getting bids on that, including a chiller. May or may not survive once we get the numbers back, but we need to know what that cost is. I think you have one time to do that. Once you put your surface down, you're not going to be able to put a chiller in at that point. So either you make that commitment, make that investment, you do the chiller now, or you hold off on it. So you have in my mind, one opportunity to do it. So we'll see what those costs are and see how city council wants to proceed with that project. But that's been an ongoing thing for quite a long time. So I'd like to see that come to fruition at some point too.
I have a question about that. Is
Mhm.
that something that they can do fundraising for?
Yeah, we've done some fundraising. Rotary has contributed. We've gotten a few grants. I think we're up to just over $900,000 in funds that have been raised locally, and with grant dollars at the state level. So there's still a significant gap. City council has talked about some different mechanisms to kind of close that gap, if you will. So Winter Sports Park is very similar to Pennsylvania Park, in my opinion. And when you start talking about those two locations, those are sacred grounds. And so we want to be very receptive to everyone's viewpoints and opinions. A lot of history on those locations, just a lot of memories and things like that. So we want to be very sensitive to those things. It's likely that we're, like many things that we do, and not 100% of the people aren't going to be happy. And so you try to weigh all that out and respect viewpoints and input. But at some point, city council will make the decision to go in a certain direction. And we hope that it's a direction that is well supported across the community. But those two sites are just so wonderful locations, beautiful locations, and certainly want to respect the history that's in both of those sites.
Was, for the ice, was there an estimate of like, this is how many days of ice we've had without a roof? This is with a roof, and this is with a roof and chiller? roughly?
Yeah, I mean, we have those rough ideas, and it all depends from one winter to the
Sure,
next.
yeah,
You
I
don't
mean,
know.
just-
Similar to, snowmaking equipment. We didn't really need snowmaking equipment last winter, right? I mean, we had a pretty good winter, from a precipitation standpoint, from a temperature standpoint. So maybe I wouldn't say they would have sat idle, but we still could have extended our season, similar to what the resorts do. But very similar to the ice surface. I think having the pavilion, having a covered surface certainly will extend our opportunities for that site. Having a chilled surface on top of a cover, we will be able to go into April, start in, the first part of November. That certainly is a game changer, in my opinion. Now, whether it's worth the added investment, that's a question for city council. But again, ultimately, if you want to maximize your use of that space in the winter season, that's the best way to do it. But what we're trying to convey to folks, this is not just, and because we've been told this, well, you're just catering to the hockey group, and that's just not true. This is an all-season event, so having a cover over it gives us a multitude of possibilities in the summer and the fall, whether we host concerts, whether we host a mini farmer's market or any sort of opportunities. It's just the opportunities are endless, what we can do with a covered surface, all year long. So it's not just we're catering to one segment of our population, but this really opens up a multitude of possibilities. So.
Perfect.
But when you start getting into snowmakers, now we're talking about infrastructure. Our infrastructure is not there currently to support the amount of water and the amount of electricity that those require. So if we want to go in that route, which certainly I see both sides of that, we just need to ramp up our infrastructure to be able to support that. So.
Great. Well, thanks so much for the updates.
Yeah.
Thank you.
absolutely.
Shane, that helps a ton. And I don't mean to completely speak on behalf of the DMB, but we're very appreciative of the efforts that the city is making to keep us all safe. And whether that means biking, whether that means our buildings, those things are very important to the downtown. So.
Yeah. And I would just thank all of you. I was able to bring, my mom's not been up here yet, so I drove down and picked her up and brought her up for the week last week. And so we got to hang out and walk downtown and just sit in the park and take it all in. And she was just amazed at just how much activity is happening in our community and just the number of events and just the wonderful surroundings that we have. And I know you all are very busy in the summer, and certainly appreciate all that you all do as well. So it's been a great opportunity, certainly for me and my family, to be up in this region and be supported by city council, and just be able to show it off. When I have family that comes up, friends that come up, and just be able to walk around and kind of take it all in, and just the magnitude and just the wealth of opportunities that are here to really enjoy, all that we have available to us. So thank you for your investment in our community as well.
Very well said. I don't think we can end it a better way, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to its end. 8:00. Thanks, everybody.